What up? What up? June the 27th, one day after the 2024 NBA draft. It was pretty interesting last night. One thing that I didn't realize till today, uh, the theme about, they talk about caps and then, like the fitted caps, right? They talk about fits, right? Kind of, to allude to hats and caps. But I didn't realize that this draft was really big on fit, not just fitted caps, but like actually fit for teams. Like teams actually drafted the players they feel they need for like to round out their roster. And yeah, it was pretty interesting. I had a mock draft and I was doing well for the first three. Got the first three, which is kind of a no-brainer when you think about it. Rishaker, uh, Risha Sher, sorry, Zachary went first. There's no telling if Alexander Sarr, if he attended the workouts for Atlanta, would Atlanta have went with Alexander Sarr? That's a tough one. So it is kind of a no-brainer to go with Zachary at one. Also, I think he'll work out very well with uh, Trey Young and Dejounte Murray. He will fight against DeAndre Hunter. I feel like for that position, that starting position. The beginning of the season, I'm pretty sure DeAndre Hunter will start, but I feel like Zachary will battle him for that starting role. And I think it's a better, more well-rounded team. I see the future for Atlanta if it works out with Dejounte and Trey. Trey Young, Dejounte Murray, Zachary Rishacher, sorry, Jalen Johnson, and Onika Okongu. I'm not sure what they plan on doing with Clint Capella. If it's his last year, we'll see how that goes. But yeah, so that was a no-brainer getting Zachary at first, and then again with Washington, what else? They need a big man. Why not get a skilled big man, the best big man in the draft, right? So getting Alexander Sarr at number two was a no-brainer as well. So yeah, we got both of those. The Rockets, Reed Shepard. That's where things might get a little bit complicated. A lot of people had Reed Shepard going to Houston. It's I wouldn't say it's a no-brainer, but Reed Shepard will definitely solidify that team, makes that team better, better shooting, better ball movement. Um, yeah, I think he works out. It's a really good fit for him on that team there. So we got that one, but this is where things started to turn left. So we got three for three. And then when it came to the Spurs, I thought they would take Matas Buzelis. After doing some more research, I realized that that wasn't the best pick. Even when I did the live before San Antonio Spurs made the pick, I admitted that that might be where I get my first L, was going with Matas Buzelis for the fourth pick going to San Antonio. When I heard people talk about Stephen Castle, I said, you know what? That does make sense. They do need a point guard. Shooting is an issue regardless if you're taking Matas Buzelis or if you're taking Stefan Castle. But Stefan Castle has everything that the San Antonio Spurs would want in a player. He's selfless. He's really good when it comes to the point guard play and getting everybody involved. His IQ and his attitude towards the game lets you know that he will improve. He will improve. I have no doubt that he will improve shooting. How much? Don't know. But I think that's what the San Antonio Spurs are looking at too. I think they're I mean, this is the NBA, right? San Antonio. It's not only just the NBA. It's not only the most talented players, but you got the most talented staff, the most talented development team. So you put that together with a guy like Stefan Castle, he'll get his shooting together, and he'll be a really good fit for San Antonio. So I was wrong, but that's a big win for Stefan Castle. I'm proud of the guy, and I'm okay being wrong when it comes to that. You know what I mean? But like I said again in the live, I did make that change and say that Stefan Castle would get drafted instead of Matas Buzelis. I knew that was a bad pick for me. And like I said, shout out to Stefan Castle. That's good for him. All right, so moving on to the Pistons. Who did I have the Pistons taking? I had the Pistons taking, I think, Klingen, right? So I thought there would probably be a trade. I thought the Pistons would make a trade. I wasn't solid with that, but you know, who they take? The Pistons that end up taking Ron Holland, right? And a lot of people had Ron Holland going later in the draft, probably like after 10. But that's a good pick. I think Ron Holland, that's a good look for him. Getting picked within the 10. He has a lot of upside. I think Detroit is really trying to solidify their core squad. It's a lot like the Oklahoma City Thunder. How they have a nice core group of young guys. Now they're gonna start building around that. I think the Pistons are in the middle of actually putting together that nice young core group. The thing is the shooting. They haven't addressed that. I thought maybe Dalton Connect probably would have been a good pick, but you know what? Ron Holland shows promise. I think his mechanics, he has the right mechanics. He can become a better shooter. And again, when you think about the NBA, it's not just the best players in the league, but you got the best staff, the best development team. So I think you put that together with Ron Holland, he will get it together. He will get the shooting together. You add that with his defensive play, his athleticism, and that could be something there. It'd be interesting to see how Asar Thompson and Ron Holland do together, though, and if they will play in the starting lineup together at some point. That'll be interesting. So moving on. So that's when we started going downhill. Got the Spurs pick wrong, right? Got the Pistons pick wrong. Now moving on to the Hornets. Who did I have the Hornets? I had the Hornets taking Rob Dillingham. Not sure why I put that. I was probably just getting lazy. But they did go with Tijan Saloon, who is a wing, athletic wing. From what I hear, he's pretty good defense, decent shooter, a lot of upside. So I think that's what the Hornets went on is the upside. He reminds me a lot of Miles Bridges. So that could be an insurance plan for Miles Bridges as well. His time in Charlotte could be up soon for Miles Bridges. And we'll see. We'll see how Tajane Saloon does. But he did move up. A lot of people didn't have him going so early. So that's cool. That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, so that's cool. So at this point now, you got Matas Buzilis. I'm not surprised that he started to slip down. The surprise for me was Dalton Connect. He slipped down pretty far. I feel like the Hornets could have used maybe Dalton Connect. I said already the Pistons could have used Dalton Connect. Okay, so the next one, Trailblazers. Who did I have the Trailblazers? I- yeah, so I'm sorry, I don't remember who I had the Trailblazers taking, but they ended up with Donovan Klingen. Some people said, okay, why would they got some bigs already? I don't think they're sold on the bigs they have already. Uh, DeAndre Ayton and Robert Williams. I don't think they're sold on those two yet. So this could be insurance. I see Donovan Klingen more paired up with DeAndre Ayton. Maybe Robert Williams will turn into like a trade at some point, or he could just be the backup big. Which having Robert Williams come off the bench, I don't know if that's the best thing for them. But we'll see, we'll see. But that's good for Donovan Clingan. A lot of people said that Donovan Clingan would have been good on the Grizzlies. I thought maybe a trade would probably go down, but we'll get to the Grizzlies. We'll get to the Grizzlies. So next we got Rob Dillingham getting picked at 8 with the San Antonio Spurs. I thought the Spurs were going to go with 2 point guards. That was pretty interesting, but they did trade to the Timberwolves. Not sure what they got in return, but they did make that trade. So Rob Dillingham did get picked in the top 10, and he will start with the Timberwolves. I mean, he will go to the Minnesota Timberwolves. It'll be interesting to see how he works out with Anthony Edwards. Timeline looks pretty good for them, growing into the future. He'll be under Mike Conley. He'll be under his wing, so that's a good person to learn from, Mike Conley. So Rob Dillingham is in a good situation, I would say. Shout out to him. So moving on to the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies, really, they did the big thing. They took Zach Edey. A lot of people were saying Zach Edey would be going 20. So many things been said about Zach Edey, and I tried to really keep my mouth quiet about it because I was hoping that people would think he's not good enough so that the Raptors could get him at 19. But as we got closer and closer to the draft, I realized that it's less than likely that the Raptors would get their hands on Zach Edey because you have other teams who are actually coming to their senses and realizing that this guy could be something. And it's better to not pass on him than to take the chance and pass on him and see him become something great. So I think the Grizzlies decided they're not going to pass on him. They're going to pull the trigger. And if it's a risk they're going to take, it's a good risk, in my opinion. And it'll be interesting to see him paired up with Jaren Jackson in the front court. And just think about John Morant and Zach Edey, right? Just the way John Morant plays alone without Zach Edey is insane. But now you got to worry about a big 7'4" guy setting screens for John Morant. That could be a problem. So the Grizzlies made a good move for that. And again, we're all looking at fit here. We're looking at teams who are making their picks based on fit, right? And going into their future, solidifying their teams, right? So yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Shout out to Zach Edey, man, for sure. I'm sorry that we couldn't get you here in Toronto, but that's good for you and your family that, you got picked where you were. And yeah, looking forward to seeing how Zach Edey does. Now, again, now we're at the 10th pick now, and no Dalton Connect, right? Uh, like I said, there were some teams I felt like could have used them, but they didn't. So we're going to the Jazz now. The Jazz, who do I have? I had Stephon Castle going to the Jazz. Uh, I'm glad that he got picked up early and going to the Spurs. I think that's a big thing for him and Wembanyama. But we got Cody Williams, who I thought I I seen some flashes of. I thought maybe he'd be going to the Grizzlies, but the Jazz. It's not going to be an immediate thing. He's going to come off the bench to start, but I think there's a future there for him. Right, he'll have to work his way into the starting lineup like his brother did, and I think he'll be able to do that. Right, he's a little smaller than his brother, Jalen Williams, but I think he's a little quicker and better with the better ball handling and hopefully better shooting. I could see him really moving into the starting lineup for the Jazz by the 2025-26 season. So yeah, shout out to Cody Williams, one of my favorite players in this draft. And yeah, that's great. So that's pretty much it. I just wanted to give the 10. Now we'll go on to Dalton Connect and we'll look at some other picks moving forward. We want to look at the Raptors pick too. But yeah, so Dalton Connect slid down to hold on, let me pull this up real quick. Yeah, Dalton Connect slid down all the way to I think what was 17 with the Lakers. And let me see here. Okay. So sorry, man. Just Okay, so yeah, so 17. He slid down to 17. Once there's some teams like I feel like maybe Chicago could have used at 11. They took Matas Buzelis, which is cool. All right. I was surprised that Oklahoma took Nikola Topics. Uh, we'll see how that goes. Devin Carter, still doing a little research on this guy, but I've been hearing some good things. I was surprised about that. This was the first one I was like, okay, I thought Dalton Connect would definitely go at 13 to Sacramento. So I was surprised because I could see him really fitting there. I felt like they could use some shooting. Uh, I felt like Dalton Connect would have been a perfect. That's when I started thinking, is there something wrong with Dalton Connect that we didn't know of? So when they took Devin Carter, I was surprised because they have a point guard already. They actually have a couple. They have Devion Mitchell, and they got obviously their main point guard. I always get his name. Their starting point guard. So I'm not sure where Devin Carter is going to fit in for the Sacramento Kings. Like I said, I could have seen Dalton Connect fitting in that starting lineup right away. But hey, they must know what they're doing, and we'll watch closely to see how that goes, right? So the other team I thought Dalton Connect really could have fit with was I could maybe say the Portland Trailblazers who took Carlton Carrington, but definitely I thought Philly. So if not Sacramento, I thought Philly was gonna take him for sure based on fit. I thought he would have fit right in with Philly, playing beside Tyrese Maxey and playing with Joel Embiid. But they didn't take him, and I was like, wow, this is who's gonna take him? And then obviously at 17, the Lakers took him, and had me thinking if the Lakers paid to make sure he was available, right? Because that's a good fit for him. I think it's kind of tough he slid down to where he slid, but I think his future is pretty bright in LA. I mean, we're better to play than the Los Angeles Lakers, right? So moving on to the 19th pick, Toronto Raptors, Jacoby Walter. I got to do some research on that. From what I know, he's more of a two guard, more of a scorer. I'm not sure if that's what we needed based on what we have already, or it's a good chance that maybe we let a player go, whether that's going to be Gary Trent or who that may be. I'm not sure, but I don't see. I think we could have used either more ball handler, like a ball handler, playmaking point guard type player, or a big, right? I was thinking maybe Kyle Filipowski or uh, Eves Missy. I was thinking maybe one of those two bigs or a playmaking guard, right? But we got Jacoby Walter, who is a scorer, more of a scoring guard, which I think is pretty good for the future. The Raptors are really good when it comes to development and when it comes to picking players for the future. So the future is bright for the Toronto Raptors. I will come back and talk a little bit more on that pick, but I like it. I like Jacoby Walter. A lot of upside, and maybe we pick up a point guard in the free agency and a big, right? So it'd be interesting to see. But was a really good draft in terms of seeing teams not just go for who's the best player, who's the best player. A lot of people said this is the weakest draft in a long time. I don't really like to see it like that. You got players who are really talented. You don't know who's going to take it to the next level or who's going to surpass expectations or who won't meet the expectations. You just don't know, right? So it's too early to say that draft is weak. You don't know if the draft is weak until like 5, 10 years after the draft. You see what I'm saying? And you could really see which players met their expectations or which players didn't, right? So to me, it was a good draft, and I'm looking forward to seeing how these players fit. Next is the summer league. This is where we're going to get to see them actually, on the court playing with some of the other younger guys on the team. So looking forward to it. Looking forward to it, and we'll have some other videos dealing with some of the other picks and looking closely at certain players and how they could possibly fit with the teams that they were picked to. So that's all we got for today. Y'all have a good afternoon, and we will catch y'all on the next one.